Husker fans, Sam McKewon along with Jimmy Watkins for Nebraska football spring camp. Started today. It's February 28th. It feels like March 28th out here. Beautiful day. Nebraska practiced Monday morning over where they usually do over in the Hawks, probably somewhere out on the grass field as well. We're going to talk a little bit about the defense, which is sort of the smaller story of this spring camp, and one that is really important, and that's special teams. And we'll start there. Jimmy, you sat for 30 minutes, 30 rollicking exciting minutes with Bill Bush, the new special teams coordinator, Nebraska native, has coached everywhere on the planet and seems to really love the role here at Nebraska.
The man can spin a tale. I mean, where do you start? I think first and foremost, it should be noted that Bush feels that Nebraska is prioritizing special teams this year. What a concept. We're 4 years into this thing, and it's 5 years into this thing?
Well, they will with him.
4 years into this thing
with
Bill Bush.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's not fooling around.
And it's finally, it feels like special teams at the forefront. It's the first thing they did after stretching today was do kickoff rundowns. It's, when the special teams meetings are happening in the morning, they're supposed to happen at 7 o'clock. Bush says he closed the door at 6:59. The guys were in there by 6:49 today, and he spins all kinds of different analogies and real life examples into his teachings. He was talking about how he was at the Garth Brooks concert last year, and he was one of those guys who was singing and dancing along with the songs. There was another couple, him and his wife were there. Another couple were sitting a couple rows away. And they were just kind of sitting there and listening. And the point he was making is that he wants his guys to be engaged on special teams. Don't just be taking in the information, ask a question, sing along, that sort of thing. So it's something that Nebraska is trying to put an extra emphasis on this year. Bush said he puts film on the video screen of teams from the last two national champions in Georgia and LSU, and he counts the NFL players that are on tape. I think he said LSU had 10 or 11 guys that are now in the NFL on their punt team when they won the national championship 2 years ago. Georgia, he counted 7 or 8 this last year that were on the punt team that are either about to be in the NFL or will be one day. So special teams it's not the most glamorous side of the ball, but it's the side of the ball that cost Nebraska in the most glaring fashion last year, and it's the side of the ball that they are most concentrated on fixing this spring.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable and fair. On the Nebraska defensive side, I talked to Eric Shenander, Mike Dawson, and Travis Fisher for extended period of times. The roundtables with the defense are always really good. They're very honest, and they sort of unpack everything. Let's start with that defensive line. There, Mike Dawson has taken over the interior linemen and the outside linebackers. I think there's a pretty good feeling in the room that they've got a good vocal leader in Garrett Nelson, and then they've got a good secondary leader in Ty Robinson, who's more of a lead-by-example type. With the interior linemen, a lot of inexperience. It's going to be Robinson, and then Casey Rogers, who's banged up this spring, and then Nash Hutmaker is going to be that nose tackle, the guy that squats 800 pounds. And then they've got a lot of young guys. I mean, the guys that are just going to have to develop and kind of be thrown into the fire, because this is a defense that lost 4 major contributors on that interior defensive line. An outside linebacker, well, they got their 2 starters back, in essence, right? Garrett Nelson and Caleb Tanner, they're back. I think Dawson feels really good about both of them. Feels like Tanner's got yet another level to go, and he's going to be able to take that. And Garrett Nelson has become a clear leader and is doing a good job in terms of playing well, working hard, and also kind of bringing guys alongside him. Nebraska feels good about the 2 guys behind those 2, and Jamari Butler and Blaze Gunnerson. Yeah, they haven't played a lot, but I think there's a good feeling there. Question mark at nickel. And talked to Eric Shenander about this. They lost JoJo Doman, and Doman was really, really good at playing in the run fit and also carrying guys, tight ends, receivers, whatever, downfield. He was just he was a utility knife, right? I don't know that they've got a guy that can do both of those. I think there's a sense that Isaac Gifford, maybe a little bit like a Doman, maybe not quite as good in the run game as Doman was, not as big as Doman. And then you might have a guy like Chris Kolarvik, who's good in the run game, but they've got to figure out what he can do in coverage. Kolarvik has moved over from that inside linebacker spot, and he's now over with the nickel, so you could see a little bit more of him there. In the secondary, well, that's up in the air. Quentin Newsome is going to play on one side of that one corner. He's a good player, good tackler, that rest. Everything else is completely up for grabs. Both safety spots, I know Miles Farmer's back there, but I'm telling you, both safety spots are up for grabs, and then that corner opposite is up for grabs too. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's up for grabs as well. So there's a lot to do there. Positive talk around Deshaun Singleton. Now, he's the junior college edition, kind of interesting guy that went to junior college, not because he had to academically, but he went there because he was a basketball player in high school, and he wanted to prove his football recruiting profile, plays for 1 season. Travis Fisher goes down and watches him at a game while he had some DBs on campus who were taking a nap. He goes down and watches them over the lunch, then drives back and has dinner with the DBs who were here, who were on recruiting visits. And that's when he decides, yeah, I want this Deshaun Singleton. And I think he's been kind of a hit. I think it'd be fair to describe him as somewhat similar to a Deontay Williams in that program. We'll see if he's that good, but I think there's some pretty good feelings around him. You know, with the inside linebackers, it's going to be Nick Henrich. Luke Reimer is banged up, may not play much in this spring, so it's going to be Edeva Maga-Clements, who's probably alongside Henrich, so long as Kolarvik's out there at nickel. So there's a lot of moving parts on that defensive side. Ideally, on a defense, you'd love to have 22. You'd love to have a whole two deep that you can bring in, feel really good about. I think at times last year Nebraska had about 17, 18, which is pretty darn good. Right now, I don't know that they got 11. I think they're going to have to figure that with all the injuries and all the question marks. I think getting to 11 is job number one. And I don't know that they'll have exactly the 11 they want by the end of spring. We'll keep watching that. It'll be interesting to see. I know there's a lot more question marks on offense in terms of what's going to happen. But I'm telling you, I think that offense has probably got more pieces at this point in some ways in terms of talent and overall depth than the defense. We're going to find out as the camp goes on. There's a presumption that the defense will, kind of kick the offense's butt. I'm not sure that's going to happen. We'll see. Maybe we'll even get to watch a practice. You never know. On special teams, well, that's a question mark too. For Jimmy, I'm Sam. This is our Husker spring camp update. We'll have plenty of them through the month of March.